Okay, thanks, Kristen. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, council, staff, residents, and delegates. And welcome, Emily from Hastings County, our planning person. I'd just like to call the meeting to order for Tuesday, April 21st, 2026, and we're being streamed live. And I'll start with the land acknowledgement. We are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within. We honor their cultures and celebrate their commitment to this land. We would also like to acknowledge the Mohawk and Algonquin nations whose traditional and unceded territory we are gathered upon today. Hastings County is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. And I should have said this is the planning meeting. So first, I need a motion that the agenda for the planning meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Marmorant Lake for Tuesday, April 21st, 2026 be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Mike, second Ron. Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor? That's carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Being none. Next, adoption of the foregoing minutes of the planning meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Marmorant Lake held Tuesday, March 17th, 2026 be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Mike, second Eric. Any comments or questions on those minutes? All in favor? That's carried. Next on the agenda are the public meetings. This is the time set aside to permit anyone in attendance to speak in favor or in opposition to the zoning amendments. Public input will be received by council if a person or public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of the municipal council for the municipality of Marmorant Lake to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of Marmorant Lake before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make a written submission to the municipal council for the municipality of Marmorant Lake before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. So the first 5.1, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, D 14-02-2026, 526 Jennison Road, Marmorant Lake. The subject lands are presently zoned waterfront residential. The purpose of the application is to rezone the subject lands from waterfront residential zone to waterfront residential exception number 4 zone to recognize the deficient frontage of 45 meters an area of 0.36 hectares to partially fulfill condition number 6 of consent to sever file number B141-/24. And we have 2 registered speakers. So I will, I'll let Kristen, you'll have to, we have Sue Malley and Vijay Khurana. Okay.
Hi there.
Hi, welcome.
Present. Thank you.
I think you're going to be the first speaker, so go ahead, please.
Other than identifying myself, I was just here to listen to in today. I had wasn't bringing anything along to do otherwise. My name is Vijay Khurana, and I'm here with my spouse Sue Malley, and we are neighbors on the adjoining property 538A Jennison Road.
Okay. And so are there any questions for the delegates?
Our understanding is that that property is going to be split into 2 across the property that's in the middle is going to be split into two. That's the only clarification we're looking for. And then if there's anything else in addition to that, that's what we're here to understand.
Okay, maybe I can ask Emily. Do you want to just clarify that, please?
Of course, so you, Madam Chair. So the purpose of the rezoning applications is a condition of consent. So Vijay is right that this is for a lot addition. So basically what's happening is that a vacant parcel exists between two developed parcels, and that vacant parcel is being divided in half. So the north half will go to the portion with the northern property, and the southern half sit likewise. So the properties are being rezoned just to recognize that the frontage and area of the parcels is still technically deficient. So we do recognize that when we get a planning application like lot addition. So materially, nothing will really change with the property, especially from a neighbor aspect. Is just for our purposes, we do need to recognize the fact that they're still deficient in frontage and area.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's because that's the way the application was positioned. We weren't sure if there was something more to it than that, but you're telling me that's just a requirement of the application. Okay.
Great.
That's it. We're good.
Thank you.
Anything further, Vijay, or does that answer?
No, that's it.
Okay, and thank you. And thank you, Emily. Next on the 5.2 is the proposed zoning bylaw amendment D14-03-2026, 538B Jennison Road, Marmorand Lake. The subject lands are presently zoned waterfront residential. The purpose of the application is to rezone the subject lands to waterfront residential exception number 5 zone to recognize the deficient frontage of 27.5 meters and deficient area of 0.3 hectares to partially fulfill condition number 6 of consent to sever file number B 141/24. And we have 2 registered speakers, or 3, Joanne and Tim Matthewman and Alan McEachran. Okay.
Okay, it's Alan McEachran.
Hey, welcome. Welcome, Alan. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I have my wife Cynthia with me beside me. All we wanted to do was ensure that we participated in the process so that there was no misunderstanding as to what it was that we were attempting to do with the properties. Emily encapsulated exactly what we're trying to do. The history on those lots is that the vacant lot between the 2 properties was sold independently. There was an owner that purchased that lot, and their intent, as they described it to us and the Stevensons, who are the current owners of that lot, their intent was to develop a cottage on it and for rental purposes, an Airbnb for income. So we acted in accordance with each other and in partnership to secure the lot from that vendor with our intent to sever the lot and incorporate them into our existing properties so that there would be no further development on the lake. Because for 2 reasons. One, we see it as an important thing to try to keep the lake as a residence lake and not one where we are encouraging Airbnb development. And 2, to minimize the impact of additional people using sewage systems being on the lake and noise, etc. So Emily pretty well encapsulated exactly what we're trying to do. And that's all. We're happy with it. If anyone has any questions, I'll be able to answer them. Sorry.
Thank you. Emily, did you have anything further to add? No? Okay. Anyone, member of council, have any further questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, next is 6.1 zoning amendments and reports. So 6.1 is zoning amendment bylaw number 2026-24P, D14-02-2026 for 526 Jennison Road. And the legal description lots 37 and 38 on registrar's compiled plan 1973. Geographic Township of Lake. The planning staff comments are here, and CVCA comments. And so 2026-24P zoning amendment and schedule for 526 Jennison Road. And the recommendation is that the staff report dated April the 10th, 2026 regarding the zoning bylaw amendment file number D14-02-2026 for the properties legally described as lots 37 and 38 on registrar's compiled plan 1973, Geographic Township of Lake, County of Hastings, and municipally known as 526 Jennison Road, Marmarin Lake be received. And further, that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2026-24P for the lands legally described as lots 37 and 38 on registrar's compiled plan 1973, Geographic Township of Lake, County of Hastings, and municipally known as 526 Jennison Road, Marmarin Lake be recommended for council adoption. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that recommendation, please? Eric, second Mike. Any comments or questions on that recommendation? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Next, zoning amendment bylaw number 2026-25P, D14-03-2026, 538B Jennison Road. Legal description lots 36 and 37 on registrar's compiled plan 1973, Geographic Township of Lake. Planning staff comments and CVCA comments and 2026-25P zoning amendment and schedule for 538B Jennison Road. The recommendation is that the staff report dated April the 10th, 2026 regarding the zoning bylaw amendment file number D14-03-2026 for the properties legally described as lots 36 and 37 on registrar's compiled plan 1973, Geographic Township of Lake, County of Hastings, and municipally known as 538B Jennison Road, Marmarin Lake be received. And further, that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2026-25P for the lands legally described as lots 36 and 37 on registrar's compiled plan 1973, Geographic Township of Lake, County of Hastings, and municipally known as 538B Jennison Road, Marmarin Lake be recommended for council adoption. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Ron, and second, Mike. Any comments or questions on that recommendation? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Planning reports, there are none. Severance application reports. Bylaws, bylaw number 2026-24P, zoning amendment for 526 Jennison Road. And the recommendation is that bylaw 2026-24P being a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw number 2003-11 as amended, be read and passed this 21st day of April, 2026. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Mike, second. Eric, any comments or questions on that? All in favor? That's carried. Bylaw number 2026-25P, zoning amendment 538B Jennison Road. And the recommendation is that bylaw 2026-25P being a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw number 2003-11 as amended, be read and passed this 21st day of April, 2026. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Ron, second Mike. Any comments or questions on that bylaw? All in favor? That's carried. Confirming bylaw 2026-26P. Recommendation is that bylaw 2026-26P being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the planning meeting of council held on the 21st day of April, 2026 be read and passed this 21st day of April, 2026. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Mike, second. Eric, any comments or questions? All in favor? That's carried. Need a motion to adjourn, Ron? Second. Mike. Thank you. Thank you, Emily. So we move on to the Committee of Adjustment. So I'll turn the agenda over to Mike. We are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within. We honor their cultures and celebrate their commitment to this land. We would also like to acknowledge the Mohawk and Algonquin nations whose traditional and unceded territory we are gathered upon today. Hastings County is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people.
All right, thank you. We have an approval for the agenda. The agenda of the municipality of Marmon Lake, a meeting for Tuesday, April 21st. We have a recommendation that the agenda for the municipality of Marmon Lake Committee of Adjustment meeting for Tuesday, April 21st, 2026 be approved as presented. Eric, Ron. Okay. Is there any declaration of pecuniary? All those in favor? Yes. Sorry. Declaration of pecuniary interests. None noted. Adoption of the minutes. Need a motion for the minutes of the municipality of Marmon Lake Committee of Adjustment meeting held Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. Recommendation that the foregoing minutes of the municipality of Marmon Lake Committee of Adjustment meeting held Tuesday, March 17th, 2026 be approved. I have a mover and a seconder. Jan, Mayor O'Neill. Seconder. Ron. All in favor? Thank you. Approved. The application to minor variance D13-07-2025, 34 Jasper Crescent, concession 10, part lot 31, plan 1974, part 107, RP 21R 13463, part 2. Excuse me. Purpose. The purpose of the application is to permit an accessory structure. The applicant has requested relief from the following policies of zoning bylaw number 2003-11. 5.25.1. The total lot coverage of the accessory buildings and structures, including detached private garages, shall not exceed 5% of the lot area except where a swimming pool or tennis court is provided, in which case the total lot coverage for accessory uses shall not exceed 20%. In no case shall the lot coverage of all buildings on a lot exceed the maximum lot coverage of the principal use set out in the application provisions of this bylaw. The application requests approval of an accessory structure with a lot coverage of 7%. Next one is 5.25.2. Any accessory building which is not part of the main building shall be erected to the rear of the projected front or exterior sidewall of the main building. Where accessory buildings are located behind the main buildings, they shall be located in accordance with the provisions of the particular zone. The proposed accessory building is located in the projected front yard of the projected front wall of the main building. 10.3B, section 2, or II. For accessory buildings not attached to the principal building, the interior side yard minimum is 1 meter, 3.3 feet. The application requests approval of an accessory structure with a setback of 0.3 meters or 1 foot. Section 10.3B, section 4. For accessory buildings not attached to the principal building, building height is a maximum of 4.5 meters or 14.8 feet. The application requests approval of an accessory structure with a height of 5.6 meters or 18.5 feet. This is the time set aside to prevent anyone who requested to speak in favor of or in opposition to the minor variance application. Public input will be received by the Committee of Adjustment. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting, or make written submissions to the municipality of Marmon Lake within 20 days of the bylaw passing, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Committee of Adjustment to the Ontario Land Tribunal. So we have an application, staff comments, Pro Valley comments, and a key map. This minor variation D13-07-2025, 34 Jasper Crescent, concession 10, part lot 31, plan 1974, part 107, RP 21R 13463, part 2. The recommendation is that the minor variance application D13-07-2025 for lands located at 34 Jasper Crescent, Marmon Lake, legally described as concession 10, part lot 31, plan 1974, part 107, RP 21R 13463, part 2. Municipality of Marmon Lake to permit an accessory structure with lot coverage of 7% to be located in front of the projected front wall of the main building, a setback of 0.3 meters and a height of 5.6 meters be approved, subject to the following conditions. Excuse me. Number 1, the registered owners of the subject lands, being 34 Jasper Crescent, shall facilitate the application for and register of an easement over the abutting property known as 36 Jasper Crescent, further described legally as part lot 106, RCP 1974, part 121, R13463, LE lot, I presume, LT 105, RCP 1974, T/W, QR 128449, and T/W, QR 128448, Marmon Lake, County of Hastings, for the purpose of allowing the maintenance and repair of the portion of the encroaching accessory structure that is located on the shared property line with 36 Jasper Crescent. Number 2, registered owners of the subject land, being 34 Jasper Crescent, shall sign an affidavit acknowledging and agreeing that should the ownership of the subject lands be transferred before the registration of the easement, the owners of the subject lands at the time of the approval of this minor variance shall be responsible for advising the subsequent order of their obligations to comply with condition 1 of the approval of this minor variance prior to the conveyance of the subject property. And B, the owner of the subject lands acknowledges that consent for the creation of the proposed easement is a separate process under the Planning Act with its own individual application, fee, and timeline for completion, which may have additional conditions of provisional approval not contemplated by the minor variance approval. Number 3, if the conditions of approval associated with this minor variance application, being conditions 1, 2A, and 2B, as listed above, are not completed within 2 years of the mailing date of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment, the appeal of the minor variance application shall be void. We have a mover and a seconder. Ron, Jan, okay. All in favor? Passed. Okay. No other business. There's nobody here who is speaking for or against. Okay. There's no other business. Can I have a motion to adjourn, Ron? Mayor O'Neill? Thank you.